You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark, said the legendary boss, Bruce Springsteen. Welcome, everyone, to the debut episode of Industry Outlaws United, IOU for short. How's it going, Joe?
I am excellent. I've been very excited for this. Coming back to Friday nights, you're bringing it to us. Thank you.
Thank you. This is just like I just quoted the boss, this is the spark for 2022 that's gonna make for a great year. Thank you to everybody that's already here watching. IOU is something that spawned from the previous show that I kind of was drawn to a couple years ago, and I felt like I used to always hashtag Outlaws United on the show because I feel like we, as an indie community, as industry professionals, I feel like we are a motley crew of outlaws that do all these crazy things, like try to act and make movies and dance and sing and do all this crazy stuff. So for me, it's I'm proud to be a part of this group that you've built with the Indie Escape. So it's going to be a good time.
Thank you. I have no doubt in my mind. Freaking excited again. Friday nights. It's a beautiful
Friday nights. That's where it started, and that's where we're going to keep the movement going. So,
all right. So you're going to hit on these people. Just so you know, we didn't speak about this pre-show, and this is a little unprofessional on my behalf. But when you and Courtney are speaking, I'm going to pull up the comments, and not to interrupt you guys, get to them when you can. But if we could hit a few here right now, I'd greatly appreciate it, sir.
Awesome. Hey, CJ, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for supporting and coming out. Jen, hey, what's up? Thank you again. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Daniella, rock star from last night. Your show was great. Thank you. Thank you and Ray. You guys rock. Thank you.
Alaska divided by zero and Cold Fusion. If you guys didn't catch that show last night, go over to our YouTube channel and take a look. Oh, and we got part of Limatic.
Libby McDermott. Awesome. Thank you for coming. Thank you. This is going to be something.
So I got to plug us, man. I have to do it. So everybody joining us tonight, if you would kindly go to the Indie Escape Facebook page, give it a like and a subscribe. Same thing with the YouTube channel. If you ever miss Brandon's show, you could always go back to the archives and watch him there.
It's very true. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to give a bunch of thank yous at the end of the show. I'm just going to save all this happy stuff for the end. But so right now what we're going to do is I put together a little 2-minute piece of photos of our guests tonight. So Joe, if you would roll that, please, for the audience.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Without further ado, our guest for tonight, the great Courtney Gaines.
Hey, what's up? I enjoyed that montage, man. That was very punk rock. I love it.
Thank you, buddy. It's great to see you, man. It's
Good
been
to see
a long
you, man.
time.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
man. How's the weather down south, man?
It's actually a little cold tonight. It's been like some days it'll be like 50 degrees, and the next 2 days it'll be like 70 degrees. So it's just like up and down, up and down.
Yeah, it was like that for us for a bit, but it's cold right now.
Yeah, it's
Snowy and cold. Yeah,
It snowed, right? Yeah, you're cold.
Yeah, it's snow. Yeah, it's been crazy, man. So yeah, so are you enjoying Georgia?
I am, man. It's been a really good change for me. You know, I grew up in LA, right? So it's like I see it from certainly a little bit of a different perspective, having grown up there. But it's just such a crowded place, you know, like 11 freaking million people live there literally, and the traffic is just insane, and rents are insane, and house prices are insane. And it was just good to finally step off that, you know, and it's been about, it'll be 4 years in February. And it's just been good for me. It's just been good for me to sort of step back from the whole, you know, every time you drive by Paramount Studios, you're like, you remember what you did work or the jobs you didn't get. You're like, your mind's constantly glued into the industry. And by not being there anymore, it's allowed me to step back. It's been really good.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And as far as your living arrangement, did you buy a house there, or you just?
Yeah. You can actually afford to buy a house out here.
Yeah. Not in LA, definitely.
Oh man, a cracker box costs you $500,000. You know, literally a cracker box.
Awesome. So I know you just said you're born and raised in LA. So were you middle class, upper class? Like what was?
I would say lower middle class. I think that would be pretty accurate. I grew up in the Echo Park, Silver Lake area. So for people who Echo Park was like definitely tough, you know, gangs and all of that, and not too far from Dodger Stadium, Legion Valley, that's called. And then Silver Lake was a little higher up, but all in all, it was not easy going. It was, you know, it was a tough neighborhood to be a white boy, to be honest.
anything reminiscent of Colors, the movie?
Well, that's exactly right. No, that's why when I was doing Can't Buy Me Love with Gerardo Mejia at the time, that was our second film in a row we did. He got the script for Colors, and he's like, he knew about my background. He's like, you're not going to believe it. They actually have a white boy in the movie. And I said, I got to get in on this. And so it turns out that my mentor at the time, Virgil Fry, who was also my manager, knew Dennis Hopper well. He helped him make Easy Rider. He gave him a call, and they were definitely having trouble finding that guy. So when I walked in, I just took a meeting in a Pendleton, just like this. And they said, you know the stuff? And I said, yeah, I do. And they said, okay, because we can't find any white boys who know about this stuff. So absolutely, it was reminiscent of that.
Awesome. So you started early. You started around 13, right? Acting.
I started studying in a professional workshop with Virgil Fry at 13, and within a couple of years, most young actors that had studied there started getting work, and I wasn't still getting work. And everybody kept saying, "Look, when you turn 18," because back then the emancipation laws were you had to be 18 to work a full day, but look like you were younger. Everybody kept saying, "Look, you're really good. As soon as you turn 18, you're going to work." And that's exactly what happened for 5 years. I just worked, and ended up didn't realize how good a body of work it was going to be in retrospect, part of a whole 80s teen cinema thing. I didn't realize that was happening at the time. I was just working,
Yeah. Now, you obviously had support from family, even though you were a high school kid?
Yeah, well, what happened was I from the time I was little, the first play I ever did, I was, I think 10, and I got the bug. And I started bugging my parents, constantly about it. And my mom didn't really want me to be a childhood actor because, in fact, she had entertained in the USO and troops and stuff like that. She had her own dance studio by the time she was 18 years old, and she thought somehow she had missed her childhood and she didn't want me to, but I could never understand it because she chose it. It wasn't thrust upon her. Yeah. But I think in hindsight, it was good because I think had I, say at 10, gotten a series or something, I was already a really precocious little shit. And if I had a series and making money, I can tell you right now, it would have been the biggest little asshole, ever. So by having to go to class and learning, good 5-6 years before I broke, and learning it was a craft and that there was technique to it and all that, really grounded me for when I started to work. And I think it made a huge difference because I never stopped studying. Basically, either I was teaching or I was studying my whole career, and that that's what it's always been about. It was all about the work, and that's what really kept me out of a lot of the bullshit,
And it showed. It showed early on, obviously, from the first film. But my one of my big questions is that how the hell did you, as your first big acting gig, actually your first acting gig, how'd you land a Stephen King adapted film?
Yeah,
was it a grueling process or?
Technically, the first thing I ever did was a commercial, a national commercial for Safeguard Soap in New York.
Wow!
That was an amazing experience. I got to take my mom to New York, and we saw, I think, the third to last production of Annie on Broadway. So that ended up being this amazing experience for me. But that was the first thing. And I was actually supposed to do this movie that had been written for me. Called Lucky 13 that Eric Stoltz ended up doing. And the reason he ended up doing it was because I was actually underage. And when I got that commercial, they panicked. When I came back, I lost the job. So that kind of changed the trajectory of the career a little bit. But it wasn't grueling to get corn. I had to audition twice. I came in once and famously pulled a fake knife on Jeff Greenberg, the reader, who went on to be a very, very big casting director who tells people never to do what I did, which she's right, but it helped get me the job. And then I came back and I had to read with John Franklin, who had already gotten the job. And I guess it was down to 2 or 3 of us. And I grabbed John by his lapels and picked him up pretty much off the floor. Awesome. And he said, out of everybody, he says, you were definitely it. He said, when you came in, it was all business. And for both of us, it was our first gig, our first big feature. Yeah. At the time, I didn't realize, Stephen King and what that meant. I really didn't. Yeah. I knew he was a writer and I knew he did some horror, but I didn't realize the magnitude of, we've been writing on the coattails of Stephen King, our whole career,
So even though you were constantly working back-to-back Hard Bodies and Can't Buy Me Love, right. But did you still have to do any odd jobs along the way? Did you still have to work?
Not at that time, because all of a sudden I was just working. But certainly before that, one of the odd jobs I did is I worked for a foothill patrol and alarm in Los Feliz, which was the more upper crust area, washing the cars and delivering to the guys who were wannabe cop guys, that was an experience. And those guys cracked me up because they were they weren't quite cops, but they wanted to be cops. And I did so Virgil Fry, his daughter is Soleil Moon Fry, Punky Brewster.
Oh, okay.
And so, she used to just hang out in class from the time she was a little kid. So she just, by osmosis, learned it. And her brother, Mino Palouse, was also a child actor who did 4 or 5 series in a row. So she wanted to do it. Her father did it. Her brother did it. And so when she was really hot, I did her fan mail for 2 years. That was my side hustle.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Punky Brewster fan mail.
I used to have to read all of her fan mail. And if there was anything creepy, I had to let her mom know. And I actually signed all the stuff. They probably don't want me to say it, but I actually did. Wow. I signed her stuff for 2 years. It was a good paying job, and I got a kind of an interesting intro into the industry that way. And I could work my own hours, and that was probably my best side hustle.
And no need for a certificate of authenticity there. So.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Oh my God! So Memphis Belle is one of the great films that you were in. Amazing film, amazing cast. As far as the training, I know that there was an extensive boot camp, but what about? Did you actually get to learn how to fly any of the B-17 bombers, or what did the boot camp consist of?
Yeah, so it was basically they put us with a bunch of experts, guys who were equivalent to Green Berets, SAS agents in the UK, who had already had this training facility where they would train people for IBM and things like that, to be team players, to work as a team. And so they would just give us crazy tasks that we had to do. But this went on for they'd wake you up at 3 a.m. and you would go till 3 a.m. And it was that one day was the longest day of my entire life. I remember 2 or 3 times going, is this the same day? I mean, it didn't take long to break us. You know what I mean? Sleep deprivation, stressful tasks. And what it did was it brought out everybody's personalities. You're going to show your true colors under pressure after a while. And Matthew Modine says this is the moment where it got real for him. we'd screwed something up, and we had these backpacks on that had like no padding or anything, like these metal casings at the bottom, and then we were having to do like leg lifts lying down, and the thing was digging into my back like fiercely. I said to the dude, "Can I take off my backpack?" And he was like, "Yeah, no." And then I said, "I'm gonna take this backpack off, or me and you are gonna go right effing now." And luckily, he was like nice enough to say, "Take the backpack off," because this guy was an SAS agent. He would have mopped me up. He would have whooped my ass. You know what I'm saying? But at that moment, I got real. I cracked. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the real anger came out. And for Mondayz, that's when it got authentic. That was the first person to get real. You know, whatever that's worth. But people's personalities really did come out. Like Sean Astin, when he got the role of Rudy, that's him. Like he was the right guy for that job, because no matter how hard they busted our asses, he was like, let's do it. Give me another. You couldn't break him. You know what I mean? You couldn't break his spirit that way. And that's exactly the character of Rudy.
And that's awesome. And that's what you need to persevere in the business, because, I've seen when I started acting, gosh, class is 25 years ago now. I saw so many people come in like that, just that 2 or 3 classes in and they were done. They just, whether they were the model types or just, again, you have a preconceived notion of what this business is. Some people do, and they don't want to go through the blood, sweat, and tears, or even the criticism that the teachers would give. And teachers they would kill me about using my hands or whatever it was, because that's what their job was, to break you of bad habits. So
I taught for 20 years, and I'd start out things like, "This is my church. If you ain't bringing your A game, get off my stage." You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be somebody else's A game. You don't have to be as good as this person or that person as good as you. But I want your best. You give me your best effort. And if you're not giving your best effort, then you're just wasting my time. That's the kind of tone I set teaching class. That's because that's how serious I take it.
Yeah, and again, your career has shown that discipline that has carried you and plenty of other actors, I'm sure, that you were in class with, and that's what's needed. There's no sugarcoating this. It's hard on all aspects. Doesn't matter if you're an actor, a filmmaker, musician, whatever.
Most of the actor, it's anytime any creative art form is a tough thing to make a living at. But honestly, a lot of the younger actors that I came up with, once they started working, they actually kind of made the mistake of not continuing to train. Once they started working, they thought, "Oh, I got this," and that's not how you transition from a young actor to an adult actor. I always had my eye on that. I knew that transition, to make that transition, I believed I was going to have to be good enough to make that transition. Because people are going to be coming from college or Yale or Dartmouth or in the UK, RADA, and having excellent training. Yeah. So it was like, I gotta, the working in the beginning got me a resume and got me known, but to stick around, I got to be good enough that they can't deny me.
Yeah, someone's always looking to take your spot. That's what you got to do to stay, even if you got to jump on stage or do other things.
No, absolutely. Yeah, when you're not booking jobs, you got to do a play, or get in class and do a scene. You have to keep the chops going, and you have to keep working at it. It's the only way to keep momentum going, in my opinion, because you're going to go through a 35-year career here now, or whatever. You're going to go through times when you're hot and times when you're not. It's how you deal with the not that
Now, how do you feel about that character actor tag? There's obviously people that are considered stars, and even a lot of these people couldn't act their way out of a paper bag. But but I mean, some people do take that as kind of a rip to their career, even though it's not. But how do you feel about that tag?
I don't think I understood it when I was younger. I think I'd come in, try to get a new agent or whatever, and I would say things like, I want to go for more leads. And I think what they heard was like leading man. I just wanted bigger, more challenging roles with more of an arc. But I was, I don't think I realized how scrawny I was. Now that I look back, I'm like, oh, I see where they were coming from. The bottom line is, certainly we know what leading men and women look like technically and all that, but the bottom line is if you can get butts in the seats, and that's never been per se my thing. It's like, but that's the thing I've learned in the long run. It's not about quote unquote talent or any of those things. At the end of the day, it's to make money, right? Like they pay somebody that stars in their product to get the people to the audience. If you can get butts in seats, man, It doesn't matter what you look like. It just matters that you can do that. And if they think you can do that and they get behind you to do that, you know? But I think it's accurate to say I'm a character actor, and I wear it as a badge of honor, really, at this stage. I mean, what it frees you up to do is do a much more wide variety of roles, at least in my case as a character actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in your long trek through Hollywood, embarrassing moments on sets, or whether television or film.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is my first audition was for some commercial, and I had never gone on a commercial audition, and they always have cue cards up. They don't do that in like regular auditions, but I couldn't like see it because I have a lazy eye on one side, right? It's like practically legally blind, and I was trying to read it, and I couldn't read it. I just completely ruined that audition, right? And I learned like, oh, you have to read cue cards. It's not like what they call cold reading where you have a script, you know? Yeah. I just remember my first audition, I totally ruined. I remember early on, I had done a showcase and got this manager who was pretty established, and she got me a meeting at NBC for what's called a general meeting, where you're meeting like the head casting director at NBC. And I completely screwed that audition up too. I completely misunderstood what it was. It was for the Michael J. Fox role in what was that show? His TV show.
Family Ties?
Yeah, where he played this very conservative kid, right? I didn't understand that. I was like 16 years old. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about, so I did it as my little street rat that I am. You know?
He was a young Republican, and you were.
I was like, "What are they talking about? I don't even know what they're talking about." You know, so it was a really big opportunity. It would still be a big opportunity today, and I just completely trashed it. So I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but you make the mistakes and you hopefully learn from them, right, and get better. It's all just like anything else. The more experience you get, the better you get. You know. So by the time I'm like, you know, Korn came along, I was ready, and that casting director, Linda Francis, had already been a fan and had already tried to get me to a few other things, and that helped a lot, knowing that I was there and that she believed in me. You know, like when you get a cast director in your corner, that goes a long way. You know, you don't want to let them down. They've brought you in that room to meet that directors and those producers. You don't want to let them down. You know what I mean? Because it makes them look bad if you suck. It's not just on you. It makes them look bad too. So I never want to make a cast director look bad for bringing me in a room.
Yeah. Okay, so the 80s and the 70s too were known for like the party scenes, Studio 54 and all that stuff. So what was Courtney? Was Courtney dancing in the clubs? You were always on sets with all these beautiful women.
Does Courtney look like he was dancing in the club? Oh man.
Hey, but you were a young star. I mean, that was the time of
but like even then, I don't know if I was a star, but even then, that was never my scene, right? Going to the club. I mean, if anything, it would be going on Sunset Strip to catch rock bands, right?
Oh, okay.
That would be more my speed, right? But that was the thing, right? It was like those 80s metal Hesher chicks were the ones who were into me, and I was not ready for that. That was like scary.
So it wasn't Lori Loughlin or Leah Thompson looking at you. It was like
it was metal chicks who like were on speed, you know, going, hey, no, this is a little too intense for me. I'm a 60s, 70s rocker guy. I'm not ready for this death metal, man. No, thank you.
Oh my gosh! So speaking of intense, the horror convention circuit can be intense.
It's exactly that. They were the future. These
there you go.
And the metal bands who came to see the metal bands were the future of conventions.
Yes. Yeah. So now when we see the middle aged like moms that are metal with the Metallica shirts and the Anthrax t-shirts.
And even the young ones, they're still all like that. You know, it's horror and metal, sort of dark vibe go hand in hand. You know, I mean, the people that, hey, look, and they're hardcore fans and they love what they love, you know. I'm not a huge, people often ask, are you a horror fan? And I'm like, not really, you know. And the reason being that I get affected by things. I'm an actor. I'm sensitive. Violence affects me. It makes me aggressive and it makes me angry. and so it's not really good for me. You know, I've seen real violence and it's not cool, you know, but some people need that level of intensity to get a rise out of them. you know?
So this is strictly acting technique then that you go to, because you've played so many villains. Even watching I believe it was an outtake from Rob Zombie's Halloween. That's an almost unwatchable scene from the content in it. But where do you go? You just go in different actor mindset places to get to do something like that. That's
funny that you say that, because as you know, everybody, all they ever do on a set is watch the monitor, right? Everybody's watching the monitor. There's many people that can crowd around it and watch a scene, right?
Yeah,
when we were doing that,
is always crowded. Yeah.
Every time we came to Rob, he was by himself. Nobody wanted to watch that scene. And he just kept saying, "This is really disturbing. This is really disturbing." It ended up making the director's cut. It didn't make the feature cut. But
yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah, I remember not seeing it in the theater, but I remember watching, and it caught me off guard because I didn't even. I think I knew you and Lou Temple were in it, but I didn't know the content of the scene.
What was great is, and I don't remember the girl's name, but what was great is I really feel like anytime you have any kind of, whether it's a rape scene or just a sex scene or just a kissing scene, it's really on the girl's comfortability, right? She sets the tone, right? And she was just great. She was just like, all in. And so it made it really easy for us to just, express ourselves and not worry about her, too much. You know what I mean? Like he picked the right girl. He knew who we brought in and what she could handle. And that made it all great.
Yeah, because it would have been really awkward if she was very awkward and very apprehensive about a scene.
Yeah, like after the scene, after one take, she's in the corner crying or something like that. Wouldn't be good.
Yeah, that's not good at all. Not good at all. Yeah, and Rob would probably be crying at the monitor.
Exactly. But I think it's the only time I've ever been on a project where I went to the monitor and nobody was there watching, because it was just nobody wanted to watch it. It was that uncomfortable.
Now, was there anything else in your career that kind of, because like I said, you've played so many just notorious characters over the years in different films. I mean, even when they're not there, even in Dorm Days, you're a badass character with Baldy. So it's that's like, true. but I mean, when you go to those different dark places, like Malachi, your first big role. Like, where do you go, especially saying you're someone that doesn't really not agree, but you're not into violence as a watcher.
But I have been exposed to it, right? So in different ways, growing up in the tough neighborhoods I did and things like that. So it's in me, right? The violence is there, it's just, so there's that, but there's also, it's twofold, right? You brought up the first part, which is, as an actor, that's what makes it fascinating to me, is you have to ask yourself, how does this person become this person? Like, what are the chain of events in their life that got them to behave like this?
Absolutely.
And that's what's fascinating, and that's what's always drawn me to acting is the psychology of it. How you then, once you've made some choices in that regard and sort of figured things out, done research, whatever, then to start to encompass that, then to start to have that mindset, to be able to get to the point where you can think like that person thinks, not how you think. And that takes time and that takes energy. I've always told actors, and I've said it in interviews before, but I always like to say it, a great place to test yourself is driving, because you're in a little bubble by yourself. You're not going to hurt anybody. But when you drive, you're constantly reacting, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, say somebody cuts in front of you, you personally might be like, it's cool. But some other guys will pull out a gun and shoot you, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, if you're a character who would now be in that state of mind, it's like, can you get yourself to react like they react? Not to obviously then go shoot somebody, but to have the visceral feeling that they would have.
Absolutely.
Or would you be in fear? Or what would you do? So it's a great place, because especially in LA, when you spend so much time in a freaking car anyway, you can really just play in the mindset of how that person's perceiving the world, not how you're perceiving the world. Because we all perceive the world differently, right? It's we're all creating our own reality. People that don't want to take accountability for that, don't want to hear that. But I definitely believe. And yes, there's times where I'm triggered and I'm not aware of that. We all get triggered, but essentially we all react to each and every event differently. We all based on our own past and our own experiences. And that's what's interesting about building a character, is to get to the point where like Malachi, like, what makes this dude like this? What makes this dude want to get rid of all the adults? What makes this dude be happy to be a henchman, essentially, has no remorse killing people. Like, what's that? How do you get there? That's the fun part.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, and you also see that I've been in acting classes over the years with actors that like would be quote unquote method and I'm gonna go do some crack or I'm gonna go live on the street and really feel it. And I'm like, you really don't have to go that. That's something that you just want to do. That's not something you want to experience. That's not something that you really have to do. Like most actors don't have to actually go like shoot up to get in the mindset of like what that would feel. You can do research in a lot of different ways.
Right. If you have proper training, you can come up with substitutions to get to those places. Now, someone wants to be on the street a little bit, but they want to take that risk. That's that's their business. As long as you don't hurt somebody else or hurt yourself, I'm all for whatever. Like if I had to do a character who was, in solitary confinement for like years or something, I wouldn't mind spending some time in solitary confinement just to get to that, just to get the sense of what those being in just those four walls for a long period of time. I'm sure you would get to the point even after a day where the frustration and all those things would start to build in you, the boredom, things like that. Anything you can do to get the edge, like I said, as long as you're not hurting somebody else, I think it's, I'm cool with it. I mean, it depends on how big, the bigger actors, they have more time to prepare, like if you're a big actor, sometimes you have 3 months to 6 months to prepare for a role. My God, I've never had that luxury. The most I've ever had is a month. If I had that luxury, you wouldn't even, they wouldn't even know who I was by the time they showed up. I would just be that guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's on the studio's dime when they're taking 6 months to learn martial arts or sword play or whatever it is to get into tip-top shape or whatever. So So the next big question is what possessed you to get into producing? You've produced quite a few.
Your stupidity, my friend.
When I first met you years ago at a convention, I think you had just done Dorm Days, and then we talked. That was kind of my sticking point because I knew that you were delving a little bit into filmmaker, and I was familiar with your career from all the way at the beginning. But why would you take on a pain in the ass of like being an exec producer on different films? Like, what gave you that passion or whatever?
Well, I think you're always looking for another way to be creative and have an outlet when you're waiting for the next acting job. The worst thing to do is be sitting around waiting for the next job, right? It's better to be busy, right? Do something within the business, and that'll lead to the next job. But it started earlier than that. I was part of a production company called Ice Entertainment back in the late 80s, and we did music videos, a lot of rap videos as the 80s were breaking out stuff, and that was interesting. I had some interesting experiences there.
I would love to see those.
It was just dealing with dudes who thought they were tough and started talking smack or whatever, and I'm like, fool, you don't know where I'm from, you don't know how I grew up, They'd be getting a kick out of me because I'd be like, you don't know me, Holmes. You don't know where I'm from. But it was good though. It was great training ground. So we did music videos. We threw underground parties to raise money. We developed projects, and the problem was it was all chiefs and no Indians. So no one was sort of leading the charge, but we all learned a lot, and everybody's still in the business on some level. So we did a short. How I actually started that company. I did a short. That was the first thing I did. I directed a short, and that was Film School 101. Blew a lot of cash. Was shooting in 16. This is before video, really. And I made every single mistake you could make, and learned a lot. It was like crash course film school, but it was enough to make me stop. And some of the guys that came on that project, we were the ones who formed a company together, and we did that for like 8 years, I think. So that was the first real, foray into it all. And then later on, I started becoming kind of a middleman on deals. Like I'd maybe meet somebody who wants to invest in film, and I knew someone, like say, I want to do a horror film. Like I knew somebody who had a good horror script. And so then I would bring them together and help maybe, bridge some financing and things like that. And I would look for projects that hopefully I could be in as well, like a Dormdays, whatever. Yeah. Speaking of which, it's not carved in stone yet, but they're married. They've already done 2 more, but there may be a Dormdays 4 coming up. And they've been talking to me about doing it. So we'll see if that happens. It might happen this year. So that might be the first announcement I actually can have on this. That's new news.
There you go.
We'll see if Dormdays 4 happens, and we can bring
Dormdays 4. You heard it here on IOU first. Dormdays
Lorenzo the Black Hand. That guy was fun.
You gonna shave your head again?
I would have to. Right? The only reason I shaved my head was because there were 2 other redheaded actors on the project. So I was like, maybe the 3rd redhead guy. So. Hey, I'll shave my head. I'll darken my goatee, and I'll 3 redheads in a project's too much.
Absolutely.
I shifted it up. Plus, I always thought it would be something fun to do, and it certainly looked gangster. I thought.
Yeah, it did. It did with the sunglasses. Yeah, totally. It was a total change up. Like you almost, I did a double take first, like when I first saw it. So you're so used to the. That's what. Yeah, that's the actor's life.
My favorite compliment at conventions are when people like say they come to my table and they're coming for corn or they're coming for the burbs or something, and then they see Sweet Home Alabama sitting there and they're like, "Wait, that's you? Like I did not know this guy was that guy." No. That's the best. That's to me. There's no finer compliment than you didn't recognize me at all.
Absolutely. So little old story. I produced a film ages ago that Courtney was in.
Yes,
and
right.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is because we discussed it a little bit earlier today, but it was absolutely stolen from us by a shady distributor. So my question for you is: did you ever come across? And I think you've produced 7 or 8 different films, like to date. Did you ever come across the distributor that wasn't shady?
Maybe Dormdays because MGM picked it up, but who knows, right? But it actually made some money because MGM picked it up and they were able to get it into Blockbuster. But boy, did you have to give up a lot. Like, the MGM asks for a lot and then Blockbuster asks for a lot, but it actually made money. But as an indie producer, it's really, this is what I learned too. It's hard enough to raise the money. It's hard enough to then make the movie. And then the hard part is distribution. And it's sort of like the equivalent of if you get in a top tier acting agency like a CAA or an ICM, you're going to get better auditions, right? I mean, they have the connects, right? So where you end up on that chain is what you're going to have to deal with. It's really the same thing in films. If you get a good distributor, you have a much better chance of succeeding than if you don't get such a good distributor. And it's really hard to get a good distributor, like really hard. If you're not making the film that they want to distribute, and the type of film, like if it doesn't fit their whatever, and and then if it's like horror, right? There's like so much horror out there, so you're like going up against all these other films, hundreds of films a year that are trying to get distribution, and then most of them. I mean, most of them are shady, and quite honestly, most everyone in the freaking business seems to be shady to me. I mean, every time I've dealt with as a middleman and as producing and everything, somebody pulls some funky shit eventually, and they're always trying to take advantage of you, and they're always trying to rip you off, and they're always trying to have creative control and all the power. I just don't think like that. I don't come from there. It's like, let's all get together and make the best project we can, but egos tend to come into play after a while, and control issues, and it's really, we did discuss this earlier. It's really, really hard to make a movie with friends, and then by the time you're done, still be friends. Unfortunately.
That's amen to that. Amen to that. So in all of that, so you actually, there's a film that you produced called The Phobic. You actually invited some friends and I to the set,
right?
When you were filming. Whatever happened with that film? Did that ever get distributed?
That's kind of one of the bad stories. So I'm not going to name names, but I brought in, the writer was someone I knew, and I'd done a short with him that he had written. Mm-hmm. He then approached me with this film that he had already. Well, matter of fact, we brought people in on that short that were the people that were going to fund his feature. So I ended up bringing in a director who was a producer who had done a lot. And and she ended up her and the other producer kind of burned me halfway through the project, to the point where I was so over it that I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take half the money and I'll go from producer to co-producer because I don't want to deal with you guys in post.
Oh, wow.
And they were happy with that. And all I can say is the consequences is the movie never got out. You know, and I think what happens, at least in my experience, what happens with me, I can't say about anybody else, but what happens with me, I think sometimes is, I believe I can be source in people's lives. I can make things happen, right? I can help. Like I've coached actors who've gone on to have better careers than me. Like I could be source in people's life. And I'm proud of that. I want to contribute to people. But sometimes along the way, they forget that you are source. And then they want to forget about it. They don't think they need you anymore. And then they try to walk away from you. And a lot of times it bites people in the ass, man. Like I'll say, well, how many films has she directed since then? Not too many, things like that. It's just a shame because I'd rather keep working together and keep all succeeding together. But often people, they just lose their freaking minds. I don't know what happens.
Well, I've been there on many different occasions. Yeah, it's
to the point now. I've been burned so many times. Like I said, because I've always been the middleman, which means I don't own the script. I don't own the property. I'll never do it. I'll never help produce a project again unless I actually own the property, because there's basically two things: owning the property and those who finance it. Money talks and bullshit walks. Those are the two. Those are the only two places where you're guaranteed your foothold. Everything else is just talk.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I have a buddy that's a great director and DP himself, Derek Hammond. He told me the same thing last year. It's like he dealt with the same thing. Just when you don't have that ultimate say as the producer because of the ownership rights, like you end up on the bad side because people aren't listening to your experience. And sometimes, a lot of the times, you're the most experienced person in the room, but no one's listening because of ego. So everyone ends up with egg on their face or not taking good deals because we want to make $5 million when someone offers them $1 million. And I've seen it so many times where people shoot themselves in the foot because they overvalue their worth, and instead of realizing that they had a decent deal on the table and they could have taken and then segue that into more movies and things like that. So like you said,
self-sabotage for sure.
Absolutely.
The funny thing about investors is because you're having to come to them for money and they have money and you don't, perhaps, or not as much, or can't put your own money in, they think they're smarter than you. And they may be smarter than you. They may be smarter than me at making money, or maybe not. Maybe I just haven't made my whole life's priority making money. But you're sure as hell not smarter than me about movies. You haven't been making any movies.
Exactly.
But you all of a sudden think your ideas are genius because you've got the money to fund it. And that's where the troubles begin, because anybody who's smart in business knows you hire people who know more than you in their field and then allow them to thrive. That's the smart way you do it, right?
Absolutely.
But most of the time, that's not the case. It becomes their ego trip. And they do stop listening. And it's dumb, because the way I look at a production media or anything like that, or ideas on a set, is it doesn't matter who came up with the idea. It matters who came up with the best idea and recognizing it and doing that. And if you stop doing that, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Absolutely. Like, people
don't know how to stay in their warehouse, even on the major level. Like, so many have been on different major sets, and there's just people who don't have a creative bone in their body, but they're shot calling, and there's people trying to tell them, look, we're actually the filmmakers, we're the creatives, listen to us. But because they have the CEO title or COO title or whatever, they think that they're gonna push their stroke. And again, that's why we end up with a lot of terrible scripts that are made for $75 million or $100 million. And you really don't, and again, because there's so many Indians and cooks in the kitchen that. But to be fair, there's many directors out there too that could give a rat's ass about how much money they spend to get their vision across as well, where they have no sense of responsibility for people are actually putting money in on this. This is actually costing a grip, and I've seen that too. And I've seen people who've been producers, once they cross over, or even a first AD
are in cross once they cross over to the director's side, they behave nothing like they do as an AD. All of a sudden, it's about their vision. And there's no how many hours it takes, or you got to deliver what your set amount of stuff. They come. I'm like, wait a minute, you are an AD, you know exactly how this is supposed to go, but now that you're a director, you just don't care. It's all about I got to get my vision across. It's amazing, but so the creative can go way too off the deep end too. I've seen both. I've seen both.
Absolutely. So you're also an accomplished musician. Was that a passion that started early in your life, or did that build as you were in the midst of your acting career?
I don't know about accomplished at this point, but I hang my hat on that. I think I can write a good song.
Yeah.
So anybody wants to take a listen to some stuff, you can go on Spotify and hear my band Ripple Street. We got a bunch of stuff up. You can hear Courtney, go Courtney Gaines. You'll find I just put out an acoustic, put out 4 singles. One more single's coming out on the 20th. That'll be an EP called Courtney Gaines Volume 1, all just acoustic stuff. You take a listen and you tell me if I can write a song. I'm not saying I'm the best guitar player. I'm not saying the best singer, but I think I can craft the two. That's where I hang my hat.
I will second that. You can craft a tune, and you played in Vegas with Fish. So how was that experience?
Well, that's a story into itself. So my God, that takes a minute. So Mike Gordon, the bass player, and I've stayed friends over the years. He picked me up hitchhiking in Burlington, Vermont, right before Can't Buy Me Love came out. I was hitchhiking from Canada. A friend of mine got married to Detroit, and the second day he picked me up before they were Fish. And the rest is history. But so as we became friends and I got to know the other guys, they had this guy that was like the king prankster friend of theirs, and he was deathly afraid of Malachi from Korn. And they kept trying to come up with a way to set up a prank. And I kept passing. And finally they came up with a good one in Vegas where they'd rent out this penthouse and they'd get this guy, they'd throw a party and they'd get this guy baked on shrooms. And they'd all take him out gambling. They'd come back and now no one's there. It's all dark. And there's Korn playing, and they're all sitting there watching it. And then one by one, the guys peel off, and the last one being Trey, who of course is the redhead, very talented guitar player. And he meets me in the master bedroom, and I put on his jacket, and I go in there and I sit by this guy. And this guy, they were hoping for a big scream or something, right? But he saw me. He probably just thought he was having a bad trip, because he definitely tripped before. And he was like, hey. He gets up real slow and walks out of the room. And they're like, what happened? What happened? I said, dude, he was so scared. And then they went in to talk to him in the bedroom, and he could not utter a syllable for 45 minutes.
Wow.
He was like, I saw him the next day, and he was totally cool. He was never been more scared in his life. And so at that point, the band loved me. I was in there crazy. They're like, what do you want? And I said, hey, man, if I can come out like the last two to just get on stage with you guys, that'd be awesome. And so Larry and Les from Primus were playing too, so they didn't need another guitar player. So I just came out and played some percussion. But in Vegas in front of 8,000 people, man, that was something I'll never forget.
That is awesome. One of the individuals that's checking the show out asked, what genre would you call your music? Like, it's kind of a fusion of a couple different things, right?
Yeah, I would say there are different projects, different things going on.
Yeah.
I'd say Ripple Street's probably 90s, 90s grunge-ish, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. And the acoustic stuff definitely kind of goes back to kind of 70s vibe, like, because I grew up with back then in the 70s there was a lot of quote unquote pop songs or pop rock songs that were acoustic driven,
Yeah.
You just don't hear that anymore. No. But and that stuff's much more the stuff I was been choosing to do on that record has been the more personal stuff, the more like personal losses and experiences, like I've been getting on like Spotify playlists for like sad and crying songs, mornings, like, because it's true. A lot of that stuff fits that. And so that's kind of what's going on the acoustic record. And I'm about to embark on a new project, a new solo project, that's going to be 5-6 songs. That's definitely more 60s, 70s blues kind of rock, and more, more storytelling driven. I'm picking all the songs that are storytellers. as opposed to personal experience songs.
Okay, so no ballads with Malachi on this one.
No ballads, no tear jerkers,
no tear jerkers.
More things that I'm have some angst about. And these some of the summer new songs, the summer songs I've been sitting on for a long time. A couple of them were in the Benny Bliss and the Disciples movie I produced and was in a few years back. But we never did a record. We had talked about doing a record off the movie, and that never happened. So, and I already had some of those songs, but we put them in the movie. So now I'm gonna make my own. I'm gonna make my own record, and I just got a booking agent, and I think I'll try to piggyback on some of the name value, and like maybe do some conventions, but things where I know the band I can pay the dudes in the band, and we can do some gigging. So that's the new year 2022 gig, is to knock these. I learned a lot the last 14 months. When Ripple Street kind of came back and was writing some new stuff, and I got involved, I started really learning about Spotify and how it works, and it's a bit of a head scratcher, and you learn that it's better to push one song at a time than put it on an album, and how you get people to, how you get, eyeballs on stuff. And I've gotten a real education the last year, and I think I'm ready, to know what I want to invest my time and my money in terms of PR people or things like that to actually push this thing out. It's because if you're an independent musician, you really unfortunately have to do all the admin side too, all the not fun stuff, all the business, getting yourself out there stuff. And it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But typically, like, that's the problem with bands, is everybody just wants to record and nobody wants to do any of the work to get it out there. But then everybody gets disappointed when nobody's listening. So it's like, you got to do what you got to do. If you want people to hear it, you got to find ways to get it out there. And one of the things I did is doing things like this right now, talking about using my acting, people knowing me from that to be able to talk about my music, and it's working. People are starting to show up to my Spotify, so it's been working. So it's cool.
Awesome. Susan Orchard, are you a fan of Queen?
I'm a fan of Queen. Susan Orchard's a big John Franklin fan. If it's the Susan Orchard I'm thinking of, big John Franklin fan. I saw Queen in concert. They're absolutely amazing. I don't think of my chops being on any of that kind of what was that era of rock? Not glam rock, but not orchestral rock, but something like that, where it's very, very big and very, well thought out and orchestrated.
I think she is, because her screen picture is with you. So
you go.
Like a convention there. So
Brandon, I think we lost your mic or something.
I hear him.
Did we?
It just sounds different. It sounded different than it did at the beginning.
Yeah, it went out. Yeah, it echoed a little bit. So are you still? Okay. How's it sound, Joe?
You're back, bro.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Joe. So thank you for that question, Susan and Luciana. So that's and I just wanted to say, for the Indie Escape audience, Benny Bliss and the Disciples of Greatness is a movie that Courtney produced. I actually had it at a film festival that I ran years ago. A great indie film. If you can find it, check it out. Cool music. Cool acting. It's a bit under the radar, but it's a really cool time to watch that. I wanted to just give a shout out to that movie because I'm a big fan.
And again, it was because we couldn't get a really, really big time distributor. Though I have to say, Anthem, I think it was Anthem, they cut a fantastic trailer though. The trailer is honestly, I think, better than the movie. But it is a pretty unknown project. And I think it's the only time I've ever won Best Actor at a film festival. No, that's not true now, because my friend Brooke Lewis, I've done a short with her, they won a bunch of stuff. But before that was the first place I ever won any kind of Best Acting. So that was a great moment in my life, and I thank you for getting us in the festival. That was a really awesome experience.
Yeah, that was. I mean, and it was well deserved. Right? Yeah, it was Down Beach. Yeah, the first one. It was. I mean, it was well deserved, man. It's a trippy movie, but again, it's so well done, and
it definitely is a trippy movie.
It's a good time. Like, it's just, I'm gonna watch it again. I still have a copy of it. So
the fun part is that, and it was actually the director, Martin Guigui, taking ideas of rants of mine about anti-technology. Yeah. I've always been skeptical of technology. I still am. I think, and rightly so, right? I think now that You know, when you know Facebook first started and all of those things, I said, wait a minute, we get this for free? What are they getting out of it?
Oh,
and after a while, I said, I know what they're getting out of it. They're getting freaking data. That's what they're getting out of it. And,
Benny Bliss knew. He knew along.
It turned out to be right, you know. And what I didn't know was how divisive it could help things get. Things were already divisive, but they feed them. My son calls it, you know, getting in the machine. Like the machine got him. He calls it, you know. Because you start going down rabbit holes, you know. We all do. We get on YouTube or we get on, Facebook, where you start going down rabbit holes, and it starts feeding you the things that and people get lost in it.
Yeah,
they start to believe it's all real. Like, I'm seeing it on my screen. It must be all real. And it's actually, I think technology, which is what I talked about in Benny. Is dividing us. You know, it's separating us from human contact, and on some levels, it gives us contact. Like here we are right now. Yeah. You know, we don't have to be in the same room to do this, which is cool. But at the same time, I think that more and more of us are isolating, and it's showing out in the world now, where people are so used to trolling here, and now they're starting to troll in real life, and it's like you can't troll in real life, man. People are going to throw down.
It's true. And with so many mental health issues that all of us deal with on a daily basis, like you said, it is like being more isolated in this like COVID world we're living in. It is, and again, the technology base, like we're stuck to these things here, and like even I've gotten used over the last few months to something called Clubhouse, and you're literally just going into different rooms and talking to groups of people all over the world. But again, it feels natural. At first, it was odd, but then after a while, I'm sitting there talking to someone in Zimbabwe, or 1 minute someone in China, someone in Mexico, and it's cool. But
there's something very cool about that.
There's something cool about it, but again, it is changing the world where the human. I liked, even though it was nerve-wracking going into auditions, I liked going in and looking at the casting directors and taking the adjustments. Because like sometimes people would look at me, and even if I wasn't right for something, like maybe they bring me in for something else. On a Zoom, I feel like it's just, or a self-tape, it's just, again, you get to say, I'm second guessing whatever and what they want. And like I said, it's a different world now where even business meetings as a filmmaker, like there's something about having coffee and like sitting across from someone and looking, because then I can call bullshit if I see that they're running game on me or whatever. So and it's a little bit different in Zoom, where you got a few minutes to try to size someone up. So it's a different animal now.
I found auditioning, even though I was good at it and had a high percentage of booking, which is why I survived, because I wouldn't go up for a ton of auditions like some leading man type might go up for like 50 a year. I'm going up for like 20 a year or something. You know what I mean? So, but when I'm right for, I can book. But I found it so stressful. Such a stressful experience. I'm happy to do self-tapes. I don't second guess myself at all. I do 3 takes just like I would do in a film. I'm not going to get any better after the 3rd take.
I started doing the same thing.
I shoot 3 and then I'll look at them and I'll pick the best one. And if I think there's 2 that are interesting, sometimes I'll send 2, and I just leave it. Yeah. But the real question is who's seeing them? Because when I first got to the Southwest, I knew Southeast. I knew that self-tapes were already the way, even before COVID. So the first year, man, I did a ton of self-tapes, and I wasn't booking. And I was like, is anybody watching these? Because if I had this many auditions in LA, I would have worked nonstop the whole time. So I sometimes wonder, maybe the first pass, it's just some 20-year-old intern who doesn't know much about it, has no clue who I am or whatever, right? And just goes, this sucks, on the
some kid in the mailroom who's never seen anything that you've done.
I wonder what the process is like, because what I did find out talking to other actors who do work in the Southeast is that's just the way it is. You have to do a lot of self-tapes before you book. And I think maybe the first year they were just like, is this dude really here? They were like, but then I started booking some things, and now they could see I was booking things that were out of Atlanta or Kentucky or North Carolina. I think they're like, okay, I guess he is,
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so Courtney, we're gonna play a little like name association game real quick that I put together. It's called One Sentence or Silence. I'm gonna say a name of an actor or director you work with, and just give me either one sentence about them, good or bad, or stay silent if they suck.
Give me a good softball to start with. Give me a good softball.
All right, I'm gonna give you a good softball. Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon is the real deal, man. Like she's a an A-type personality who just goes and gives them. I mean, look at her career now. She's like this major producer on top of being an actress. But she's one of those actors like I hate, because she can be having a conversation with you and then say action and just kick on the jets like a light switch. I can't do that. Like I have to prepare before scenes. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I have to keep myself in before a scene. She's just sickly talented, dude.
Charlie Sheen.
That's an interesting. Well, so Charlie and I, started out doing the circuit together. I mean, I'd see him on auditions and stuff, coming up in the 80s all the time. And I think he's really talented. But when I worked with him on that project we did that he produced, he was in bad shape at that time. It was shortly after
Code of Conduct. That
correct. And shortly after that, he went into rehab, basically because his dad worked on it too. And his dad said how bad he looked, and he kind of outed him. And I was really glad he did, because he wasn't in good shape. So when Charlie's, straight, man, he's the real deal.
Linda Hamilton,
the nicest, right? Like the nicest lady ever. She's a sweetheart and obviously talented, but what always stands out to me is just how kind and nice she's always been. In that scene where, I grab her by the face, when I'm yelling Outlander, she was like, don't worry about roughing me up, and I was my first film and I was geeked up, man. If you look, you can see my fingers like way in her cheek. I ended up breaking corpuscles in her face. And she never said a word, man. The next day I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she was just so kind, did not sweat it. That says a lot. There are not too many actresses that you mess up their face that they're going to be okay.
Absolutely. All right. Lori Loughlin.
Wait, Lori Loughlin? No, not Lori. I was thinking of somebody else. Lori Loughlin, I don't really know her well. We did Secret of Mara together, right? But all my scenes are with the dudes. So I just don't know Lori well.
Okay. Rob Zombie.
Rob is what I really like about Rob is that he seeks the truth in a scene. And I was warned, quote unquote, by a friend that, hey, don't come in thinking you might not improv or anything like that, because Rob is going to keep going after it until he finds the truth. And in that scene, it ended up being 3 days. We ended up working 2 more days because we ended up working the scene and changing the scene and making it work. And he had to add something because he wants you to believe, and I think he has an incredible sense of his audience, because he is his audience. And I love that about him,
Awesome. David Arquette.
What did we do together?
You did.
We did Field of Lost Shoes.
Yes.
But I didn't work with him either. We had no scenes together. So I don't know the man.
I like David. I've met him a couple times. Good dude.
Nice.
Eric Roberts.
Eric is funny and crazy and talented. He's he makes it look easy too. He'll be distracting you, and you got dude, I gotta work. It's easy for you. He likes to do cue cards, and he's like the master at it. Man. He makes it look so easy, but he's really fun. It's really fun to work with.
Joe Dante.
Joe's fantastic. I've gotten a chance to work with Joe a couple times. I'd work with Joe again anytime, anywhere. I give him all the credit in the world for creating my character in The Burbs, because he was the one who's like, go to this guy, he's going to make you bad teeth. Go to her, cut his hair like this. Go get these leader hosts, and then come back. And every time he'd come back, he'd laugh and say, you're never going to work again.
Bret Michaels.
What I really got from Bret Michaels, man, is that don't underestimate that guy's a hard worker. He's gotten everywhere he's gotten by hard work. When he made that movie, the one with Charlie Sheen, he was really excited, telling me how great this movie is going to be. And I knew that he didn't know what the hell he was walking into as a director. And every day he'd say to me, taking a beating, Courtney, taking a beating. But every day he got better, and every day he was on time, and every day he put in his work. And that's what I think why his band succeeded too, because he just worked, worked hard. And that's what I take away from Bret.
Awesome. And finally, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman, I think Corey is underrated. I think, he's obviously a little crazy and he didn't do himself good justice doing some of these reality shows he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's underrated. I think, especially as a child actor, I think he was definitely underrated. I think he's done some fine work.
Awesome. All right, cool. So
those aren't one answer things. Those aren't one sentences, but that's how it goes, man.
Hey, man, you gave good answers, man. So Joe, do we have a person that would like to come up and ask Courtney a question?
I scared them all off, but I have questions, if I may.
Yes, please.
Okay. Courtney, most awkward convention scenario.
The weirdest thing that ever happened at a convention was this dude came up to my table, and there was a bunch of people around too, and he was he had worked at a morgue, and somebody had gotten fired, and he snuck back in, and he took pictures of a nude girl, dead girl in a morgue, and was showing us to him. That was the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
All right. And a question I started with.
Even horror fans were like, whoa, that's dark.
Well, I'm thinking of the Tales from the Crypt movie, the second one, when the guy's in the morgue and he's going, dude, if anybody recalls that scene. Anyway.
I don't.
Okay. I can't explain it here.
Exactly. It was like necrophilia is what came into everyone's mind. You know what I mean?
Ooh. No. A question I started with Kane a few years ago is you get fan art. Do you have like a favorite fan art piece that you can describe or show us?
Well, this is not technically it's both fan but professional. Hold on one second.
Awesome.
You guys already showed it, but the lighting's bad.
Yeah, that one that does rock.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
that's actual vinyl. That's vinyl.
That's Gary. Yeah, that's the vinyl, man. Check that out. That's about us. I got the CD too. He sent it to me. We did the lighting's terrible. The lighting's not working. I so dug what he did. I contacted him on Facebook and said, you want to do an NFT of it? And he was like, is this really you or am I being punked? And I was like, let's do a Zoom. And we did the NFT. It did okay. Technically, it's supposedly the first horror art ever to be done as an NFT.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're still doing variations of it right now. And we also signed which I have on my wall here, a print of, it's like 4x2 of that. It's pretty darn cool. So that's the latest. I know technically he's a professional, but he's also a fan. So
well, those NFTs are blowing up, man.
Yeah. It's like anything else. You just got to get it out there right and hype it up right and all of that. But even it did okay. But even to say it's the first horror NFT, to have that on in history is pretty neat into itself. That's pretty priceless.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Awesome. Say it again. That was a joke.
Awesome. So, Courtney, what I want to do at the end of every episode is have the guest impart some wisdom to the audience out there. There's so many actors and musicians and producers and people that are watching and will watch if they weren't able to tonight. So can you just give some words of encouragement or discouragement if you choose about this business? And
it's a tough business, that's for sure. And, only a very small few percentage are going to be fortunate enough to make it and even just make a living, much less be a big star. And I think nowadays it's even harder than ever to be a supporting actor and make a living. I think most people are going to unfortunately have to have a side hustle. So I think my generation is kind of the last of it, to be honest. Without I think the money's so rough nowadays, and that they're not going to be able to just be full-time actors. I think that's my opinion, which I think sucks because I think supporting casts are highly underrated. I've been mostly a supporting cast in my life, but I've also been a lead. And when I have a good supporting cast around me, it makes all the difference in the world. It lifts me up in the, I'm not having to carry it the whole time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially doing theater or something. And so there's that. But, I believe in, being prepared. I believe it's not so much about who as much as it is about when you get an opportunity to be able to seize that opportunity, to know what you're doing well enough to book jobs. And I think that people don't want to hear that. I don't think people want to do the work. I think you got to be in love with the process, as it is. And I think you see that whether it be in sports or ballerinas, it's the process. It's like, they asked Morel Brishnikov, one of the greatest male dancer of all time, what's the toughest part about dancing? And he said his answer is first position. And what that means is every day that guy's world class, and every day in the morning he has to go and work on the bar, and first thing you have to do at the bar is first position. The most basic, most mundane thing in the world for a guy who can fly through the air like magic. But to be able to do that, he has to have the discipline of every day going back and doing the basics every day,
Great advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
All right, CJ, tell our audience, do you have any new projects coming up, film, TV, anything?
Yeah, there's a few things looking to come out this year. One is a comedy called My Redneck Neighbor, and guess who played the redneck neighbor? And, but I got to do some music in it too. It ended up being really fun. It's very zany. We'll see what's going to happen with that. I just finished doing the voiceover stuff for it, so it's getting close to trying to get out there. Another one is a horror drama film called The Bleeding Dark that I'm also one of the leads in, and it's got like 80s like kills, and no CGI, but there's also a lot of dramatic moments in it too. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out. Did a cameo in a movie called American Bigfoot that's coming out soon, and I have a song in there too, a song from Ripple Street called Going Places. So that I'm looking forward to seeing where they use that. So I was able to sell a few songs this year, a couple for the Redneck Neighbor movie as well. And I did a BET show, a 10-episode anthology thing where I did one episode called Tales, and I thought it was going to come out last year, and it didn't. And I have heard nothing. It's not even on my IMDb at this point. But I got to play a really good corrupt cop, and it was with Ja Rule, and he was fun to work with. And I'm like, when's this thing coming out? I've even tried to contact people at BET, and I've heard boo. But they did 2 seasons. Then they skipped a year, and they were supposed to put it out last year, and then I don't know what's happened. But I want to see it because I play a good, I want to see this cop I played. The funny story is I tell the story when we were shooting by this neighborhood, there was this little park, and I walked down to, and I was in my black, the LAPD uniform, and I was going back to go to the shoot, and I'd stepped off the curb, 1 foot off the curb, and this car screeches in the middle of the street. And the lady looks at me like, and I was like, what is she doing? And I realized she thought I was a cop.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, power of the uniform, man. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That wasn't the method act. That wasn't the acting skills there.
But that's the moment where I learned something, though, right? It's like I learned, like, wow, the uniform, man, like commands fear and respect, And I was like, okay, I can file that away. I can use that,
And so we have a question. Any convention appearances this year?
Have heard nothing yet. I did 3 last year. The year before I did 0. So far this year, I've heard nada. I'm sure there will be. It's the beginning of the year. Usually shows are, in the fall. So
you got to come back to the East Coast, buddy, and hang out. Monster Mania or
it's been a while since I've done Monster Mania. That'd be good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
on that note, though. I'm going to say this now. On that note, 40th Korn, a couple more years, the 40th anniversary of Korn. That's it. I'm hanging it up. That's it. I'll be like almost 60. I'm like, no more, man. I don't have any of those dudes that are wheeling in a freaking gurney in a wheelchair. I'm done. So
I respect it. I respect it because there have been some that it's a little.
They can do it if they want to, and if they need the money, cool, man. I've just set it up so that like I don't have to do them anymore, and I'm not. It's been good. It's been great. I've learned a lot. It's been good for me to be able to actually get to know fans and stuff because I didn't realize how there was pre-internet, man. I didn't realize how big Korn was and Can't Buy Me Love and the Burbs, and it was good. It's been good for me to learn all that, but I just how old do I want people to be taking pictures of me? Is what it really comes down to, I can't get up anymore. Come sit down next to me. When I can't get up to take pictures, it's over.
Yeah, you're going to pull a Rod Stewart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's a perfect thing that you said there, because it is sad sometimes to see some of the iconic figures in some of these convention photos that have been in films like Tombstone and other things that we all know. And it's kind of sad to see, like, you're so used to the strapping like hero in these movies or whatever.
You're so old, you don't even recognize them at all.
Yeah, and you don't even really recognize like it's hard to see some of these people you grew up with, like and not even withered away and not even really recognize it. But I mean, I respect, because they do want to go out and see their fans, so I do have respect for it.
I feel the same way about acting too. You know, when it gets to the point where I can't, freaking memorize my lines anymore or whatever, which is happening to some older actors I know. That's the nightmares actors have, that they're like on stage naked and don't know what play they're doing and don't know the lines. So when that starts coming true, like in real life,
oh man,
time to hang it up, Jack.
Yeah, time to pack it in.
Hey guys, I got to pull up this comment, and it isn't just for me. It's for all the Indie Escape. Thank you, Sean. Damn Joe, congratulations on all this awesomeness for the Indie Escape. It's the whole entire team that I mean, CJ, we got Gabe, we got Steve Gray,
Daniella, Ray, everybody. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good motley crew of cats that I'm honored to be a part of starting tonight. So
Scott
Courtney,
yes,
Scott and Jaysen, that are going to be premiering their stuff. Well, Scott tomorrow night and Jaysen soon. So yeah, it's a good group of cats that you got here, Joe. That we appreciate it.
We have
as a family. So Courtney, social media, where can people find you online?
Facebook is the easiest way. I do have an Instagram too, but I'm pretty terrible at putting stuff up on it. That's about it. And my Spotify is like, go find me on Spotify. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, go check out Ripple Street and also Courtney's other music on Spotify and wherever else you can find it. There's some really cool jams. And like I said, check out Benny Bliss and the Disciples of Greatness if you haven't. And if you haven't seen National Lampoon's Dorm Days with Courtney with the baldy, looking like a badass, check that out. But Courtney, I appreciate you, my friend. It was great catching up. Thank you for being the first guest on IOU.
Right on. Glad to be your first guy. Popped your cherry. Go get him, man.
My man. We'll do this again when you put when you release. You said you're going to release your music on. Is it the 20th of this month or next month?
There's a single coming out on the 20th called "Time to Fly." But we're just starting I've just started tracking the EP, the new EP. That's going to be like I said, 60s, 70s rock type thing. Yeah. I'll let you know when we get further down the line when it's going to get released or something, and then we'll do something again if you want.
Yeah, we'll come on and we'll play some of your music. Yeah, definitely. We'll riff out. Joe and I and the rest of the crew will dig that. So again, my friend, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And Godspeed. Happy New Year. And thank you again, my friend.
Nice meeting you, Joe.
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you, Courtney. Wow. What an amazing first episode.
Yes, I got through it. Yes.
You got through it, man. You aced it.
This was, yes, I know I'm still alive. So yes, but this is a trying last month of the year. So this was daunting getting up to this day. So yeah, you just kind of shed a little bit of light on what I wanted to say at the end.
I apologize. It was brought up, and it was just like,
Oh no, it was cool, but yeah, I just what I wanted to do is I just wanted to thank the whole the whole Indie Escape crew, everybody we named every nice catch, yeah, the whole crew, and what I had planned on saying in the beginning, but I just wanted to kind of get into it because I knew it was going to go a little bit long. Is that it all started obviously with you, Joe, just keeping this flame burning. But for me, I'm glad that you and David Madison and Scott Schiaffo kept that going, because the reason I'm doing this is because of the end of the night. Because if that wouldn't have continued to go after the previous show started, then that kind of gave me the inspiration to watching those episodes and that kind of gave me the inspiration to say, you know what, let me take a crack at this, because CJ's like so smooth, and Gabe, they're cool. They've been doing this for a while. So, I mean, again, watching them too was cool, because you get to see everybody's mannerisms. I'm getting used to just looking into a webcam. It's a little weird, but I'll get used to it as the weeks go on. But yeah, I just wanted to thank like the three of you, David and Scott, for just keeping that going, because that segued into CJ's show, Gabe's show, Steve, Mick. And then what we're going to get from Scott, and what we're going to get from Jaysen, and the greatness we got last night from Daniella and Ray. So I just think that we're building something that's going to be strong, and it's going to be people are going to have to contend with it as far as podcasts. So and like I said, I'm honored to be a part of it, and yeah, I got through it. Like I said, it's I passed my concussion test. I was in an accident a couple weeks ago, and yeah, so like I said, it was a little iffy, like, to get to this. That's why I kind of asked you a million questions, Joe, like kind of this week. But yeah, I think it'd be a little bit smoother. But again, I got through it, and I thank everybody for watching, asking questions, and yeah, and again, thank you to Courtney Gaines for being a bud and coming on as my first guest. We'll announce this week the second guest. It's going to be another banger, and yeah, that's it. Do you have anything you want to say, Joe? I mean, I know also Scott. I know Scott was going to come up tonight, but he wasn't able to make it. But everybody watch Scott's amazing show that's going to premiere tomorrow, and it's called, is it Tales from the Afterlife or something?
It's a precursor to his show, so it's kind of confusing. But yes, Afterlife Live.
Afterlife Live. Okay. Okay, great. I love what you showed on End of the Night, the teaser for that. So yes, I'll be tuning in tomorrow night, and yeah, like I said, thank you to everybody for watching and supporting, and keep doing it for the Indie Escape, because I'm gonna try to do a bunch of new things, like every week, like just kind of mix it up. Some week there'll be multiple guests. There's going to be guests from not just film and TV. There'll be sports figures, musicians that are also going to pop on the show. So just kind of, and again, I don't know if anyone really kind of noticed, I'm kind of trying to talk to people about themselves more than and their motivations and their struggles and like quirks and things like that, as opposed to just how was it to work with this director or that actor. There's a little bit of that, but again, I kind of want to go a little bit of a different direction. So I hope that's appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And for those that don't know, I mean, Brandon, you yourself, you're an indie filmmaker. You're a writer, director, actor, producer. Am I missing anything?
Craft service, like everything, pretty much everything. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, I've dabbled just about in everything, but again, that's why I've had longevity, because from the beginning I knew I needed to learn everything I could. So when I started my company, then I could know what to look for in the right people to work with and stuff like that, even though that hasn't always worked out, but with some of the people that I've worked with, but again, it did prepare me for being able to be hired for a lot of different jobs. So,
all right, I'm going to shoot one plug here. David Bradley, absolutely. Horrorville in Cocoa Beach, or at Cocoa, Florida, in 2 weeks. Horrorville HorrorCon. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm going to be covering it for the Indie Escape, and we're going to do a show the Sunday prior with some of the guests. So stay tuned.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for spending some of your Friday night with the Indie Escape. My sign-off quote every week will be this: believe in the power of yourself and the right others. Thank you. Peace.